I carry all mine
Oh, right.
because of the tons of books I have, so somebody got it. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, you don't wanna put your books in boxes that are too big. Right, alright.
but we'll
So it's
talk-
nice to have
Okay,
skills
yeah.
in your family. It's nice to have skills in your
Do I
family.
know who's going to be?
Suki's gonna be represented.
Yeah.
So we'll have a local presenter, so it'll be a little bit predictable.
As long as I can have her email address.
I'll put it on, I'll
Yep.
email everybody.
Yep.
There's a mic
On
on.
my, the prelude, because this is actually in the, what I'm gonna make for the prelude.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going, yes, number 2. And I'm gonna recite the word.
Oh, okay.
Before it.
Yeah.
You want me to do it?
What do you want?
Yeah.
I didn't even think
I
about
mean,
that.
to me, it's a romantic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm gonna do.
And I'm gonna have to use the Hulu because my printer like wouldn't.
I mean,
have my
people
new-
could open to it, you know. Yeah. Well,
Never. Prank call. Never.
I tried to leave some room for people to walk up.
Oh, you mean to move the chair over too? Oh, I see.
Oh,
And they were.
Are you all better now, Charlie?
No,
Are you kidding? That's the loaded question.
I'm still quite,
I like that.
I'm still quite disturbed. Thanks for asking.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, man, look,
We
expiration
went
date
to
on
Fair
it.
Choir a couple of months, weeks ago, I don't know.
Oh, that's the way.
And then we went out to dinner. Right, it wasn't
Then I started actually drinking
a restaurant that,
in the morning coffee.
typically caters to eating, but they had a couple options, and so.
Well, I'll be back.
Cause I need to make some modifications or whatever.
Yeah.
And Kathy, Kathy ordered the same thing I did, with the dairy, and I ordered it with the dairy.
Right.
So the server comes
Yeah,
with
my
these
son
plates,
doesn't drink.
and they go, who's the vegan? And I raised my hand, and she handed it to me. Who's the normal one? And then she goes, oh, I didn't mean it that way.
Oh, I've been baking.
Yeah,
Yeah, the one is squash bread. Okay, and then the other one is,
I was just gonna be.
it's a cherry jelly. That's my cherry jelly. So I want it. So,
Oh.
Brian, you have to try my jelly roll.
The,
My cherry. So. Yeah.
the card for the campus is in the.
Yep, see here. Yeah, and I put mine in. Yellow, so you can make one announcement about that. Yeah.
I can't.
Okay.
Sure. it's in there.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
If anybody,
The last time I signed up for retreats, I went in and I did something, right? But.
Well, I'm having a malfunction too because my printer, well, I got the service, but like usually I can't find it, I take a picture of these songs and print them
And
out.
then
so that I can-
and then beyond that, I didn't go back in my trash.
Gonna cast out the
I
beans.
usually copy and paste all these out.
I just don't like to fumble around
And
in my
then delete the
meeting.
ones that are,
They are so.
Right,
So.
I must have accidentally deleted variants.
yeah. I mean, it's ultimately have and I broke my one. Exactly. And I said, no. Yeah, and I said,
Oh, that would be a really. That would be-
Maybe we, you know, one session. we can make
That would be awesome.
I simply ask you, I know you have a lot on your plate. I have an idea of what they When you go in to sign up for. Right, you have.
What? Yeah, it's all right if you. Now you
So if you wanted to give me a picture, I could have got that.
You know, like have their make up. Make it, make them disappear as we go on.
Yeah.
But you have to buy.
Looking for a movie, that makes more sense.
So then it goes hurting the world time.
Well,
Yesterday I was taking. Yeah.
You know, I guess, I mean, you know, it's gonna take me a while longer. The kind of person that likes to nest, you know, setting your house in a new way. You know, put your picture on the wall and that. For this. Well, and you know, maybe that one. All good about whales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just,
I wonder what
it's just a.
I think it's boring.
It doesn't really go anyway.
Yeah.
I've got people in my head. Okay.
I think it's bull ringing time.
Ringing, gabbing away. Okay.
It actually, did it go?
Moving? Really? So she's-
Just bring it. Move.
Me?
Oh, yeah, right, 3 times.
We have the power.
Number 403, I'll play through it, because this is new.
Good morning. My name is Brian. Welcome to all of the online guests, including Paul. Hi, Paul. We'll get back to you later, Paul. We're glad that you're here. I want to just give a couple of announcements here, and then we'll solicit more from the congregation. Today we are taking a stab at a Black History Month celebration, commemoration, and we're going to be doing that mostly through music, and so we invite you to enjoy the musical presentations in our time together. Again, we have a special guest, Paul from Nigeria, a dear friend of mine for many years, we're going to engage in a dialogical presentation where I'm going to sort of like interview him, and he's going to impart some wisdom on us. We're looking forward to that. Don't forget that we have a plate in the back for offering, and we do take donations online. We have a jar for change for charity. Also, this is just a reminder, I'm sure Kathy talked about this last week, that during the opening words we're going to stay seated, which was a great idea. Never thought about that. And that way everybody can see the screen. And then, of course, at the end we're going to sit back down and enjoy the postlude after service. Any other?
Me first. There's, some cards over there by the treats, that the UUA sent us little cards, or I guess it was Mid-America, which is our regional, UU, whatever it's called, district, there we go. Sent out cards because you can sign up for, Camp Unistar. Which is, I've never been, but it's apparently people who have been just absolutely love it. It's an island on the middle of the lake in Minnesota, and it's UU's.
It's wonderful.
But yeah, if you're interested, the information's on the card.
That was it.
Oh, that was. I was. Other things that we want to share with each other, other than the fact we're going to miss you in March.
One of my courses is sponsoring a thing called Flyover Fest acapella groups, getting coaching and stuff like that. And they're having a concert Saturday night, and I'll put the information in the MailChimp if anybody's interested in seeing several diverse acapella groups and choirs.
Awesome. Anything else? Well, I do want to take this opportunity to thank Kathy for her service this month. Next month, we are going to have a duo. Alice is going to lead service next week, and then Dawn is going to lead for the middle Sundays, and then on Easter Sunday, Alice will be back leading, and that's because Dawn has to be away. If you didn't know that, Alice is, so you know.
I can handle it.
Surprise!
Yeah.
So we appreciate all of those of you that celebrate with us by helping lead the service, and that also includes our wonderful musical group over here. And Suki's going to be not only joining us with music today, but Suki is going to be the presenter for next week. While I am moving, there's been a little change in the moving schedule. I'm moving next week. We are moving next week. I won't do a lot of moving. They'll do a lot of moving. I'm the supervisor. Everybody's a supervisor. But we have to do it next weekend because of different schedule changes. So Suki's going to be the presenter for next week. And Alice is going to, the beginning of Women's History Month, all led by women. I think that's appropriate. So there we go. The only other thing that I would like to do is, before I turn the service over to Kathleen to share with us her prelude and the introduction to that, I want to just read something from the UUA that has to do with Black History Month. And so if you would please just meditate upon these words, and then we will move into the worship service proper. If you're joining us today, know that you are witnessing this Unitarian Universalist congregation doing sacred work. Collectively, we will wrestle with what it means to be a majority white faith whose anti-racist intentions have not always been borne out. We invite you to witness and embrace moments of transparency and vision, and to join us on our collective quest to eradicate racism and to truly love one another no matter who we are or where we are, no matter who we love, what our genders are, or what color our skin is.
The piece that I'm playing this morning, it's actually in the hymnal. It's number 202. I'm going to read the words. You're welcome to follow along. It's a lamentation. It was written by Duke Ellington, an African-American jazz pianist, and he lived from 1899 to 1974. And this is a lamentation. Okay, dear Lord, Lord above, God Almighty, God of love, please look down and see my people through. I believe that God put sun and moon up in the sky. I don't mind the gray skies because they're just clouds passing by. Lord, dear Lord above, God Almighty, God of love, please look down and see my people through. Heaven is a goodness time, a brighter light on high. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and have a brighter by and by. Lord, dear Lord above, God Almighty, God of love, please look down and see my people through. I believe God is now, was then, and always will be. With God's blessing, we can make it through eternity.
Please join me as we remain seated in our opening words. Great Spirit of light and of darkness,
We gather once again to remember great fallen African American martyrs, as well as current Black leaders working for justice.
may we nourish ourselves, bodies and souls, from the fountain of reflections.
We collectively embrace our call to work against racism in all its forms.
Let us open our hearts to the anguish of our pain, to the tired taste of swallowed tears, and to our unrealized visions.
In this place, we bring our scattered lives together, groping for meaning and seeking truths.
Let us journey together with the divine as we continue our search for understanding of the mystery of the temporal.
May we be united even as we wander through our memories, seeking pathways to the future.
Holy Universe, move with us as we unravel the implied imperatives of hopes unfulfilled.
Justice makes tireless demands, and we grow weary.
As we touch one another in common cause and with the Great Spirit in our midst.
Let us find the way and the courage to realize the dreams which still live within all of us.
In the spirit of sparking the flame of unity and justice making, we light this chalice as a community, and we say together,
May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal with love, to help with compassion, to bless with joy, to serve you, Spirit of freedom, in the fullness of community.
I invite you to join us, and please rise as you're able with our first hymn, number 148.
We're going to play through it together before we sing the 4 verses. Sorry, okay.
gather together as a community of seekers to honor the interdependence of life, to respect the dignity of all, and to honor the land we walk humbly upon. Friends, let us acknowledge that we now stand and sit upon the traditional territories of the indigenous people, the Dakota, for whom this very county and congregation are named, and others, the members of the original nations of this land who continue to cry out for justice, preservation, and self-determination. We are blessed with a space, a community, and opportunities to strive to live out our common principles, to bring justice, equity, and compassion into our daily lives, to resist all that threatens the earth and her people, and to live out our dream of a world community of peace, liberty, and justice for all. Let these thoughts carry us forth as we journey and worship together. It is during this time in the service that we share our joys and concerns and light a candle if you're so moved to do so. And at the end, I'll light a final candle for the unspoken joys and concerns.
Well, it's a joy and a concern. I did a job interview last Monday for the St. Croix Hospice, and by 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I had a job offer, and I accepted it. Now I'm trying to go figure out how am I going to do this full time and maintain.
I lived in Bismarck, North Dakota for during my elementary school years, and a dear friend of the family in Bismarck passed away this week. So this is for Wally and Wally's family. When we went to visit him when Pete was little, he gave Pete rides on his back, and we called him Wally the elephant. And so that was his nickname after that.
Would somebody like to light a candle for me?
Sure.
Or you could do it virtually. Just a little good news. I had my mammogram yesterday, 2 years post lumpectomy, and it was all clear. I think Africa was good for me. It made all my problems go away.
Well, we weren't here last Sunday, but it was our second wedding anniversary. Belated candle. And that was a joy, by the way. Holly reminded me, our friend Nancy, who had breast cancer, she had a double mastectomy a few weeks ago. And she has just gotten the confirmation that there's no chemo needed, the drains are out, she's feeling great, so yay.
I'm going to light a candle of joy and concern, I guess. Moving isn't as fun as I thought.
But it's really good when it's over.
Yes, and I'm so glad we're moving closer to our faith community. And
Hello?
also,
Susan.
Susan,
Hello?
go ahead, Susan.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hi. Excuse me there, Open. Yeah, I just wanted to say hi because I haven't been there in person for a while, and I'm wondering if you're wondering about me. I've been up and down with the Parkinson's symptoms, and I was doing really well about a week ago, and then so I'm in a little bit of problems right now. So it's hard for me to get ready and get there and be on time and all that. Sometimes it's kind of nerve-wracking. So I just want to say hi to everybody, and I'm doing okay. Thanks.
Miss you.
Thank you.
I'd also like to say something, light a candle. This is Kitty.
Hi, Kitty.
Yes, our two daughters were down to visit us here in Florida, and we had a wonderful 5 days with them. And it was a whirlwind too soon, but we miss you all. And Sue, I'm glad you're doing well now.
Thank you, honey. Where's my finger?
I will light a final candle for all those joys and concerns that remain unspoken. May we know that whatever befalls us in life, we are held in the loving embrace of this community. And now we say together for all of those joys and concerns, both spoken and unspoken.
We hold you in our hearts.
I'm gonna give you a little intro here.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thine might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee, lest our hearts drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land.
I invite you to hear this reading by Aaron Edwards. It's adapted from his writing called Colonial, Logical, and Progressive Theology. The logic of Western colonialism in Western religions is often summed up via a pithy quote from Desmond Tutu. When the missionaries came to Africa, they had the Bible and we had the land. They said, "Let us pray." We closed our eyes. When we opened them, we had the Bible and they had the land. Whether the missionaries used the colonizers or the colonizers used the missionaries is another issue for another time. Whichever way one interprets the motivations of the missionaries, Christian theology rightly winces at the logic of colonialism, particularly under the aegis of scriptural authority. Those Christians who felt able to justify colonialism theologically were able to do so because they believed they knew things that the colonized did not know, and that the imposition of such things would be good for them in the end. As many have since observed, such condescension was not unlike the way a parent makes decisions on behalf of young children. Yet this logic is alive and well today, not only in the places you might expect to find it, but especially within the logic of so-called progressive religion or denominationalism. Any progressive religious person, of course, would recoil at being associated with colonialism. But that's the thing about logic. Wherever you hide from it, in deeds, intentions, statements, or hashtags, it will find you in the end. Indeed, it is quite possible to be so committed to post-colonialism as to become guilty of colonialism 2.0. I speak, of course, of the Western reinterpretation and exportation of a positive biblical view of things like LGBTQIA relations, where homophobia was first imported and imposed on African culture, and then after successful implementation, the West is now trying to relieve Africa from its homophobia, often in a very disrespectful way, calling Africans behind the times, even though African culture was definitely not homophobic before colonization. This is only one expression of colonialism 2.0. As Tutu demonstrated, the genius of colonialism was managing to achieve large-scale conquest whilst avoiding large-scale conflict. There was no war, but there was a very definite victor. To adapt Tutu slightly, this is what the vast majority of African religious people rightly fear when unity is spoken of in contrast to functional submission to scriptural authority. When the missionaries came back to Africa, they had the hermeneutic and we had the Bible. They said, "Let us interpret." We closed our eyes. When we opened them, we had the hermeneutic and they had the Bible. So I'm going to now formally introduce Paul, my dear friend, and we're going to engage in a dialogical sermon or presentation, maybe.
You ran away?
I'm just highlighting it.
Thank you.
Hi,
Good to see you all.
Good to see you.
Paul, could you just take a few moments and briefly introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll just go from there.
Brian, perhaps you should sit
Oh,
closer.
Okay,
can you hear
thank
me? Can you hear
Oh,
me,
yes, I
Paul?
can hear you.
Okay.
And can you hear me as well?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. My name is Paul Iorlaha. I am 29 years old of age, and I'm born in Boko, Benue State. I am from Constitutional Local Government Area of Benue State, Nigeria, and I am the last child of 3 siblings. I had my education, my primary education and secondary here in Benue State, where I passed out with First School Living Certificate and West African Examination Certificate, respectively. After my secondary school, I felt in my soul a distinct call to ministry. And so I prayed and explored different avenues regionally where I could potentially study and hone my understanding of this call. I went ahead to apply in the Roman Catholic Seminary, where I was interviewed and admitted. There I began to discern my call. After my novitiate towards postulancy, I encountered challenges with the corruption of the seminary staff and faculty. And in fact, the doctrinal modality of the Roman Catholic Church in general never suit who God made humans to be. So therefore, I had no option but to leave, but I never gave up. I continued my vocational discernment and self-discoveries. I considered my identity as a human being, view of God, and my faith as a person, as a being created in God's image. And so I had to keep exploring self-discovery, exploring other ways to move forward and to make sure that I answer this call, because it keeps coming to me over and over again. And so I hope in studying more current temporary theological framework with consideration in wider church ministries. And so I work towards reconciling my sexual orientation as a girl man with my faith, which I could not effectively seem to do within the context of any Nigerian institution, including the seminaries in general here in my country. And so it is not only against the national law to be identified as one who live as an LGBTQIA plus person, but it is also impossible, totally impossible, to openly study for the ministry and exploit theological basics where I can affirm who God created me to be. And so with all of these things, my self-exploitation brought me online, where I saw a church which was founded by Pastor Brian and called White Ghost Church International in the United States. And then I learned a lot about progressive Christianity when I began joining online in worship and an affirmation of myself as a being. And the community genuine love was being shown, where I saw what Christianity then was all about, compared to the corruption and what I had at the seminary in the Roman Catholic Church. And so I was accepted at White Ghost Church International, and I became a member and a full celebrated part of the community. Pastor Brian and Reverend Diana became my mentors. And so I served as the president of the church council and acquired knowledge about the United Church of Christ, which does not exist anywhere around Nigeria. After years of my discernment, and I prayed and I arrived at a point where I am now. I have applied in the seminary at United Theological Seminary of the Twin Cities in Minnesota, and my application was accepted, and I have been admitted at United. And I will have to resume this fall, 2024. One of my mentors is an alum of United, which you all know, Pastor Brian, and he is the major reason why I'm at United today, because he encouraged and persuaded me to study with United. And so with my exploitation and faith and belief, I chose United, and I'm glad I was accepted. I hope to take my theological education to a formal level and exploit fully in inclusive learning and the community at large. Currently, I am a member of Shepherd of the Hill Presbyterian Church in Chaska, where I joined service online. Most importantly, I have experienced growth there And I believe I have experienced a lot of things. My call to offer radical acceptance and unconditional love again, with no exception, to all people and to creation in general. Finally, I will say I love animals and I am a cat person. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Another question that I'd like to ask that you might want to share with us some insights is, why do you think it's important, in light of all of your experiences and the life that you live in Nigeria, to be able to be a part of a theological community abroad that is based in progressive thought? Why is that important to you?
Okay. Well, first of all, I will say I am looking forward to attending seminary to descend my call and become an ordained minister, where I will be opportune with many progressive knowledge to help change the world through enlightening many who are lost with some doctrinary teachings, especially here in my country, Nigeria. The teaching actually exclude nature and how God created things to be, but rather the most teaching lies on the doctrine they created and we grew up with here in my country. So I am still seeking a denomination right now, since there are no progressive ones in my country, Nigeria, and I will be learning the specifics about different trajectories and denominations while in the seminary to help discern this call. So it is very important to me, and it's part of the reason why I am excited about United Theological Seminary, and I want to discern my call.
Thank you. Another question that I wanted to ask you is, how are the images of the divine perceived in Nigeria, as opposed to how you started to encounter them when you entered into online worship with progressive communities of faith here?
Oh, well, that is a very good question. And one thing about that is my answers may surprise you. Well, I believe will surprise you so much because there are things we believe in here in Nigeria. For example, let me talk about white Jesus. Well, it is very strange and unbelievable when you tell a Nigerian that Jesus is not white. So here, when we grew up with the doctrine teachings in Nigeria, we were meant to understand that Jesus is white, pure white. And so you see, with the movies like The Passion, which was acted in the year 2004 by an American actor by name James Patrick, when you go to churches now, you see a lot of pictures of James Patrick on the wall. You see people going there to say prayers because that is Jesus. They believe that that is Jesus. In fact, the Passion of Christ that is being translated in Nigerian languages still has the face of James Patrick, and the likes of Robert Powell, who is a British actor as well. Their pictures are being placed in churches when you go, and this is something people believe so much about in Nigeria, and you cannot change that mindset because it is what they grew up learning and the doctrine teachings in Nigeria. So that is the reason why when you, the whites, travel to Nigeria, people will look at you as, wow, come see Jesus. I used to be like that too. Of course, yes. When I see a white person, I feel, wow, I've seen Jesus, because it is the doctrinary teachings we grew up with, and it is what we were being taught. For example, now you can take a look at this book. I have it very close to me. When there are Christian printed books in Nigeria, you see, this is Stations of the Cross, and you can see that the Jesus there must be white. I hope you can see that. You see, we all have books printed. So if there is anything black Jesus, then it's evil. That is the belief of the Nigerians. You can also see from this, I think, this is something my mother never played with. You can see you can see Mary and Jesus. And when at the others around, he turns, you see disciples with Jesus. And this is the white Jesus, and this is the Mother Mary. This is something people believe in. Like my mom used to get this, and we all kneel at the front of this and say our prayers, because we were being taught that once you pray with status like this, Jesus has seen you, and Jesus is seeing you. You don't even need to kneel without something like this. So these are the things I grew up learning, and most especially God. God is known in Nigeria as a man. God has been given gender. God is known as a he. So when you address God as unimaginable because the spirit, people will say yes, but is he? So when prayers are said here, they will always say God is a he. In fact, we are being taught that God is a he. God is never a she. So one thing I used to do when I encountered, when I worshiped online, I had some ideas of progressive Christianity. When I want to say prayers in public, I refer to God as she. So, you know, you see people looking at me, staring at me, feeling amiable, but at the time I'll tell them, well, Jesus is beyond imagination. So if you can refer to God, God. If you can refer to God as he, then definitely I will refer to God as she, because it's a spirit to balance the equation. So you say he, I say she, and that is it. So you see, that was how I tried convincing them. But right now, I must tell you that people do not believe that God is a he, a she, or anything rather than a he. So God is a he, and that is the belief in Nigeria, and something that people needs to know, people needs to be educated about. That is the reason why I feel so excited with the opportunity online services I joined. And then talk about churches in Nigeria. It's all about money. For instance, in the Roman Catholic Church where I grew up from, like now, right now, if eventually something happens and I happen to die, because I don't give money in church, they won't have to bury me. So I will be abandoned. If I am on the sick bed and my mother runs to a priest that, hello, can you come pray for Paul? Because he's at the point of death. The priest will say, oh, get me his card. Let me see his financial report, how he supported, how he gave money to the church, how he signed his card before we can attend to him. So all of these things are really amazing things that I later discovered it is not being Christ-like. It is not the life of a Christian. And these people are ordained ministers and they do all of these things. In fact, they prefer to take from the poor, and when the poor needs them at the point of death, you must have to have a good financial record that you supported the church, even though you had nothing, even though you are old and cannot do anything that will provide anything for you, then you will be abandoned. So your people will have to look for a pastor around or just bury you like that with no minister having a proper burial for you. So these are a few of the things you experience here in Nigeria that I feel will surprise you, and how religious is in my country, Nigeria. So I hope you can understand a few of these points and it helps. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. The last question that I'll ask then is, how have things changed for you after having access to progressive theology through your online worshiping experiences?
Oh, wow. Well, it's totally been amazing because haven't had opportunity to worship online and have ideologies about progressive Christianity. I have accepted who I am for who God made me to be. I am always proud of who God made me to be. And I try to talk to people around me. I try to make people understand that life is all about love, unconditional love. Everybody is being created for a purpose. And whatsoever one is today, it was already meant to be. It is natural. So, the discrimination and segregation of who people are, homophobia, um, in fact, in general, let me say, when you are a transgender, when you belong to the LGBTQIA plus person, then definitely you are meant to die. And so, with this knowledge, this theological knowledge of progressive knowledge I've got from online services, I must say it has changed my life totally. In fact, I don't believe I would still be alive through today if I've never had this opportunity. But God led me through, and with all my experiences from the past, I must say the progressive teachings I've had has been has created a total, perfect, and positive impact in my life to keep me healthy today, to make me talk freely in the community, even though I know I'll be persecuted, but the truth will always set me free. And have been living through that and without fear, though I need to avoid a lot of things because when a law is being set, it is, and you may become a martyr. Let me say, as they used to call in church, because you've accepted to die for your belief, for who God made you to be, for the natural human you are. But with that, I am always still careful. But I must say, I am glad because progressive Christianity have changed my life and have made me who I am today. Applying at United, having a conversation with you all here, which is a very big blessing and an honor. So it has changed a lot of things positively for me, and I am wholeheartedly glad.
Well, we're glad that you're here and we really appreciate your presentation. So we're going to pause and meditate on your wise words that have been communicated with some music, and then we'll come back and have a brief reflection time. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
So this piece by Florence Price, and she's the first Black woman whose work was played by a major American orchestra. At that time, Chicago Symphony Orchestra in 1933. And in her whole life, she has 400 works, including 4 symphonies, 4 concertos. And so this one is one of her work called Adoration.
So I know I wanted to give Paul the maximum amount of time to talk with us. So I know we don't have a huge amount of time for reflection. Of course, we can continue the reflection after service a little bit, but Paul won't be here for that. So I would open up the floor and see if there are any reflections you might have or thoughts you might have that you'd like to share with Paul or with the community.
Well, a question came to my mind, and thank you very much for the presentation. It was great. The Catholic leadership, the priests and so forth in Nigeria, are they predominantly white, or is it a mixture, or are there Black African priests mostly, or how does that work?
Okay, they are actually blacks because I will not say mixture because the white usually visit this time around. So the congregations which were owned by the whites are now being head by black priests. So they only come around to visit and they travel back to their country, their respective countries. So mostly blacks.
Interesting. Thank you.
Welcome.
I also want to thank you for this, and I also am inviting you to come back if you ever are here at United Theological Seminary and you want to join us, or just, if you need anything, please reach out. We'd love to support your journey at the seminary.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I am so very glad to be here today on Zoom to join in service. I feel blessed and I am hoping to be able to come and share with this congregation in person. So I am so very glad. And I want to say how important live stream and social media ministries can help with reparations. So I want to say thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you too. That was really, really interesting and enlightening. I'm wondering how much difference there is in light of everything that you spoke of between different countries in Africa and different tribes.
Okay, well, yes, there are different countries in Africa, but majority of African countries experience just the same thing. And you see, with the population in Nigeria, we experience this thing the most. And, most of the African countries are not as many as we and Nigerians are. So with all of these things, most of this corruption comes from Nigeria. So, they are being inherited by few of these African, in fact, let me say most of these African countries. So the similarities is huge. So there are no much differences.
Mm.
Well, thank you again, Paul. We're going to wrap up the reflection time, but you received an invitation to come in person, so I hope that happens. We're all hoping that you can get here to United Seminary to study. I know that I do after knowing you for almost a decade. It's about time. So thank you again, and we appreciate that you've joined us today. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next part of our service, and then we'll talk probably amongst ourselves after service as well. So I hope that you come back. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Our closing hymn is hymn number 325.
Suki and I will play through it, and then we'll do it's very short. There'll be 5 verses. So, okay, here we go. I'll intro.
with the laws of every cage. Love lifts the hopes that force and fear have created down. Love breaks the chains and gives us strength to stand our ground. Love rings the bells of wanted birth and wedding day. Love guides the hands that promise more than words can say. Love makes a bridge that binds and shake and not destroy. Love carries faith through life and death to endless joy.
So as we go out with these facets of new knowledge that some of us may not have known about, may we expand our own minds as we continue to go and bring people good news that they may never have heard before. Let us be a faith community for all people all around the world, no matter who they are and no matter where they are. Go in peace. But please be seated and enjoy the poster.
This is another lament, mood indigo. You ain't been blue till you've had the mood
One of my
indigo. I haven't played this on this keyboard. Duke Ellington. Can't go wrong with him.
I was real tempted to sing. Have you ever heard Tony Bennett's recorded version of that song?
Yes, I think I
It's
have.
got a really, really dirty trumpet solo and then another even dirtier trumpet
Yeah,
solo.
yeah.
And then he ends on this really long vocal glissando all the way down to a
Oh
really-
my gosh.
And it just is,
Yeah.
gets to me.
It's a little high in this A flat. It's very high in A, key of A flat, which I played with.
That's my.
It's also what you play.
That's my range.
Again, I don't remember E flat or anything really,
Right.
but yeah. So.
Okay,
you wanna
Yeah, if you want,
hit it?
if you want to try it.
Sure.
Don't always get that mood indigo. Since my baby said goodbye. Pretty good, are you?
Pretty good. You see Rod Stewart singing this morning?
No, we haven't seen that part yet.
Oh, great. Yes.
Go ahead.
Rod Stewart and forget the other guy's name. Well,
Oh.
Yes. Yeah, standard.
Territorial agreement. Generally, that's what I would do, is there anything all that Joyce and concerns, everything, all you do is your presentation? Yes. Okay.
Oops.
Are you gonna practice something?
Yeah, we're just gonna do some improv kind of thing based on 2 simple chords.
Okay. You have to choose the chords that,
Yeah.
you know, for the guitar that you can do. I can't play guitar.
Yeah, so a C major 7.
Okay.
No, not the dominant 7. Yeah, that was. And then D minor 7. So pattern I was going to do is something like that.
Yeah, it's 7 hours.
And then you can just noodle on that. Because you know it's just all the white keys. C major 7. Depends on how you count it. And I thought we could switch back and forth, where you could just play chords and I could scale. Simple, right? But yeah, as long as you use them, they're all in the white keys. Right.
Yeah, he's one of the my family is very.
I thought we could go back and forth and you could do lead, kind of a lead improv for 8 bars and 12 bars, whatever. And I could do scat, I could do scat for 4 bars, whatever.
I was starting to tell you, Ann got in touch with me this past week on her. Just to get things settled in, you know. I had to fill these paperwork out, and I had to go, you know, for the drug test and so. So anyway, now I feel like this coming week I can sort of.
But they've not done the flavor hasn't come to
That a typical age for make a start?
I need the plan. Oh, no, I'm not. That is the best.
Yes, yes, I think so.
It's nice when you peak at the right time, right?
And I was crying. I was just like,
It's an.
I mean, it was so beautiful.
But I had permission.
Well, we only have one floor, but it's like.
She has an idea, she says, you know, since I'm on sound.
But it's in an apartment community,
I
which
wanted
is
to
brand new.
combine these things.
Right.
So the sound